everyone. So this is a video that I've been looking forward to making for ages. It's one that I think will benefit a lot of people, and it's how to choose the correct foundation for your skin and what to keep in mind when looking for a foundation. So anyone who works on counter, anyone who's worked in a makeup boutique will know that the question you get asked most throughout the day is, I don't know what foundation is right for me, I need to pick a foundation to suit my skin, I don't know what's the right colour for me, can you help me pick a foundation, can you help match me up to foundation? This is something that does require a lot of thought. There's loads of different elements you have to consider. And I'll start with, first of all, ignoring the foundation for a sec, your skin type. So it always surprises me that a lot of girls don't actually know their own skin type. I think I just take it for granted that girls would, but so many girls come into work and anywhere I've worked not knowing their own skin type. So skin type means whether your skin is dry, oily, combination, normal, sensitive. They're the main types. There's a few ways of finding it out. Generally you should have an idea yourself, but if you don't, the best thing to do is to just wash your face with a gentle cleanser, something that's not too moisturizing, drying, abrasive in any way, something that's pretty balanced. Don't tone afterwards, and just let your, pat your face dry and just let it dry for a good hour. Leave it without moisturizing, without putting anything on your skin, and then after an hour or two, your skin, it may feel completely normal. You may find that it looks the way it always does, which is great. It means you have more normal skin, which is the rarest skin type, to be honest, like completely normal skin. You may find that it starts to feel a bit tight or stretched or a bit flaky, depending on what level of dryness you are, but that means you're generally on the dry side. It may start to get very shiny, you may start to look quite oily, which is obviously you have sebum coming through, which means you're oily. You may have some superficial lines on your face that, your face just feels a bit parched, it's more dehydrated skin. Or you may be a mixture of two or more of these types, and that's combination skin. Now sensitive skin also, you can be oily or dry, but it's generally more dry skin, and it's just when you react to products. So you'll know yourself whether you have had a history of reacting to different products in the past. If you know yourself, you tend to have to stick with more mild products. So once you have your skin type down, that's one of the most important things to figure out in the first place. Then you need to treat your skin type with the proper foundation. So there's loads of different foundation types. You have your more moisturizing ones, like cream foundations that have higher oil content, or you could have the ones that have more of a water content, that have humectants in them, which means that it attracts water to your face. Them ones are great for dehydrated skin. You have your more just normal ones. You have silicone based foundations, which means that they're a bit more long wearing, generally more waterproof. You have your mineral foundations, which are great for sensitive skin. You have your powder foundations. There's so many different types to choose from. I will always suggest going in to a counter and asking one of the girls or guys who work there for their advice and time. That's what they're there for, and they will run through everything for you. I can try and share as much here as I can, but it's just to get your own personalized recommendations. Go to a counter. Don't be intimidated by them. Most counters will also give out samples. Don't feel like you have to buy on the day. The girls or guys can try some of the products on you there, some of the foundations, so you can see how it feels throughout the day. You can usually take home a little sample. That's always well worth doing. So once you have your skin type down and you've decided, what kind of finish you want to go for, generally if you are dry, you'll want to go for something a bit more dewy, a bit more moisturizing. You can still go for something that has a matte finish, but it's still, not going to dry out your skin. Similarly, if you're oily, you might want to go for something that's a bit more matte. Generally stay away from anything that has dewy finish for oily skin, because it'll just be too much as your oil shows up throughout the day. So next you might want to decide, first of all, where to even go to get foundation. Actually, this is even before then. You can decide between pharmacy and department stores. I have found through experience that like this is just generally, most department store brands are going to be 10 times better than the drugstore foundations. I'm not dissing drugstore makeup. I love drugstore makeup. I have loads of it in my kit. I even like some drugstore foundations, but I just find that generally they don't tend to perform as well as the slightly more upmarket foundations that you'll find in department stores. So I do think that it's something that's worth spending a little bit more money on. I wouldn't necessarily always say that about other types of makeup, like eyeliners and even some eyeshadows and stuff. I don't think you have to always go to department store for them, but for foundations generally I would say go to a department store. I like some brands like Revlon. I like their Photo Ready foundation. I like some of the bourgeois foundations, but generally my favourite ones are MAC, Armani, Chanel, Dior, just those higher end foundations. Okay, so obviously you've found out your skin type, you've decided what kind of finish you want to go for, figure out which texture is going to sit on your skin better. One thing I'll say is this is usually down to experience and just trial and error. You may have the exact same skin type, or you might think you have the exact same skin type as your best friend, but a foundation that sits perfectly on your skin, sits lovely into your skin, just looks amazing on you, just might not settle the same into her skin. So it is worth trying on a foundation, wearing it for a while, not just borrowing your sister's and think that because it works for her it'll work for you. That's not the right way of going about it. Also, textures are different. Like for me, I'm combination oily. Well, combination, I'm only oily in the centre, but some foundations that are meant for oily skin work great on me, others don't. So not every like foundation type is going to work for everyone. Another thing to consider is coverage, whether you want your natural skin to show through, whether you want to be able to see your own skin showing through, or whether you really want to cover it up. Unfortunately, I find most generally younger girls, but a lot of girls do want to cover up their own face. They don't like any of their own skin showing through, which is a shame. I hate that mask-like effect. No matter how well heavily applied makeup is applied, and like when you see mask-like makeup, it can either be applied well or it can be applied terribly. Either way, it's still going to look different than your neck or your chest if it's on show. It's just because obviously there's a lot of stuff on your face and it's covering up your skin. So I do prefer more light to medium coverages, but there is full coverage, which is obviously going to be really useful for some people who need to cover up things generally. If you have scarring, if you have, you know, birthmarks or anything like that that needs to be covering up, obviously, yeah, go for the fuller coverage. Personally, I prefer the more medium coverage, especially more medium buildable coverage. I'll go over that in a sec. So the lightest coverage you can pretty much get are like tinted moisturizers or tints, which just add a little bit of colour to your face. They don't really do too much concealing. They do help even out skin tone a little bit. Generally a bit more suited towards better skins, you know, skins that don't have too many abnormalities or you know, discoloration or whatever. So some good ones would be like the face and body foundations or any moisturising tinted moisturisers. Then you have the slightly more like medium coverage ones. These can range from like light medium to medium full. There's so many to choose from. Generally liquids are my favourites, and then there's the medium buildable, which means you can either put on nice and sheer, just one layer, or you can let them set in between layers and build up. And that's really is the trick to building up foundation. Never put it on too thick, always let it set in between layers. It'll only take, you know, half a minute for it to set in between layers. And this way you just get a better finish. It doesn't cake as much. It just, you know, you'll kind of know where to apply it. Sometimes I'll put on my first layer, and then once it's kind of set, I'll see I might just need a bit more coverage around here, but not everywhere, and I'll only apply it there. So do only build up where it's needed and do it in layers. You may also want to have the full coverage foundation, which, like I said, I'm not a massive fan of, but they can be really handy. For instance, like in my kit, I have a lot of full coverage foundations because I can use them for so many different uses. You can use them for camouflage, like I said, for tattoo coverage, or you can shear them down and use them as a foundation. You can shear them down as much as you want. You can mix them in with, you know, primers, with moisturizers. You can even just damp your sponge, or you can apply them as, like if it's something like the MAC full coverage, like this for instance, this can actually be applied like as a concealer. So, no, sorry, this is the Mineralize, completely wrong thing, but you know, it's in a similar pot. It's it can be used like a concealer. It's a thick cream, hard cream consistency. I mean, some full coverages aren't necessarily cream. You can have your like Studio Sculpt and just maybe like, what do you call that one, the Revlon Color Stay foundation. They're liquid, but they're definitely fuller coverages. So beware that you have to usually apply them a bit differently, especially the liquid ones that dry quickly. You have to be a bit quicker with your application. So yeah, you'll have your coverage then decided depending on your needs and how you like your foundation to look. Then decide on what's handiest for you. Like for instance, is it easier for you to use a bottle, which is probably you just apply it in the morning, leave the house, and then that's your foundation taken care of for the day? Or do you need to touch up during the day? In which case maybe compacts will be a little bit more handy for you, like something like a all-in-one or a 3-in-1, like maybe MAC Studio Tech, something that has like some powder in it. It has like water, emollient and powder in it. So you can actually touch up on top of it without it caking, because you don't necessarily need to set it with another powder unless you're very particularly oily. So do consider what will be handiest and most convenient for you. Like something like the MAC Face and Body, it's in quite a big bottle. That's not something that's going to be easily just thrown in the bag or easily reapplied during the day. So generally compacts are the handiest thing for that. So that's another thing to keep in mind. When it comes to colour matching, I'm not going to go into too much into undertones now. I will do that in a different video, but not only is to get the right colour down, you do need to know whether you're more neutral, yellow undertoned or pink undertoned. You should have an idea by looking at you. Some people just don't have a clue about what that even means. Go into someone on the counter and ask. Like, I will do a video on it soon, but in the meantime, do ask a professional about it. They should know by just looking at you. Just because you're very pale doesn't mean you're always going to be pink undertoned. I'm not. I'm more yellow, whereas my little sister is more pink and she's practically the same colour as me, but just a different tone. So when you have your colour down, your tone down, you need to know what to match it to. So for girls, you match your foundation to your chest area and your neck area. For guys, it can be a bit different. Different guys can generally get away with just matching it to their neck. Obviously, they can't be a different colour, but it's a bit different with guys. I'll just deal with the girls for the moment. So for girls, generally we have this on show. You want it to match up. Something that pains me, but I see too often, is girls wanting to get too dark foundation. This can work fine as long as you have fake tan on your on the rest of your body, as long as you're darkening up your neck and your chest to match it. But often the case is that this doesn't even happen. They just want to have more colour on their face because they feel that they look washed out otherwise. Foundation is there, first of all, to even out your skin tone. That's the main thing. It is there to add a little bit of concealing to help mask some blemishes. Mask is not the right word. You don't want it to be too thick. Do rely on concealer for concealing. That's what it's there for. Foundation is more just to even out your skin tone. So do go for the right colour for you as well. There's nothing less forgiving than a tide mark. It looks horrendous. It screams wearing makeup, but also screams wearing makeup badly. Badly applied makeup. So if you feel you look a bit washed out with your makeup, number one, it could be because you're using the wrong tone. You could be pink toned and you've been given a yellow toned foundation, which can make you look a bit ashy and definitely make you look washed out. But use a bronzer or a sculpt powder or blusher of some sort to bring some life back into your skin, because again, that's what they're there for. And then the next thing you need to think about is to have the right tools to apply your foundation with. for instance, I prefer using brushes for liquid foundations. So you might need to, if you don't have a brush, you might need to buy one. You can use your fingers if you want, but I'm just not a big fan of these. If you have very sensitive skin or you're prone to breakouts, don't use your fingers. Your fingers can just stimulate more oil production, which isn't going to do you any good. So that's just one little thing to keep in mind. Okay, quickly and lastly, I think I've covered most things. I'm sorry if I've missed anything. I just have all this information going around my brain and I'm trying to spew it out as quick as possible. But the last thing to keep in mind as well is whether you need your foundation to look good in person or in camera on both. When you're getting your photographs taken, if maybe you're getting married, maybe it's for a photo shoot, you have to be aware that shine shows up more on camera than it does in real life. So this is going to be something that you will need to deal with your foundation. You know, don't use anything that's too light reflecting or you know, too dewy or anything like that. Maybe you could use a powder foundation over it, especially for TV, that's good. Also think of SPF. SPF, especially the natural ones like titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, they are white pigments. They reflect light once the flash hits them and cause a glare on camera in photographs. So the lower the SPF, the more suitable it is for camera. Ideally no SPF, but that's not always going to happen, because you might be getting married that day and you might be outside for a good bit of the day but still getting your photos taken, especially indoors. So some little bit of SPF is okay as long as it's pretty low. What did I... Oh yeah, I mentioned as well there, before I forget it, light reflecting foundations. So these can be great for older skins also. I forgot to mention more mature skin. More mature skin, you don't want to use heavy foundation at all, but it's good to use something that's a bit dewy, that reflects the light, to bring a bit of light, to bring a bit of life back into your skin, especially quite older skins, which tend to get a little bit duller, you know, as time goes by. So also, you know, some makeups are going to be more age appropriate than others. So I'm definitely going to leave it at that. If you have anything to add, leave it in the comments below. Sorry for the length of this video, but I wanted to make it as thorough as possible. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye!